Mike, so you are making 100K in revenue per month with yourself and two VAs, which is wildly impressive. How are you actually running your business with yourself plus two VAs, virtual assistants, and making 100K per month?
Right. Yeah. Thanks for having me, by the way. I'm really happy with the setup, obviously. And I'm really surprised by the fact that a lot of people still out there are overcomplicating their businesses with complicated setups and funnels and stuff like that. So happy to explore this. I've been a consultant all my life. I used to run three marketing agencies. The typical approach to building business is to grow the business as you grow with clients, you grow with the team as well. And the reason for that is that your delivery model is requiring this. So every new client requires more attention.
Hmm.
Now, at some point, I left my corporate jobs years ago because I was burnt out and I built three agencies and I was burnt out again. I was like, well, I'm doing something wrong. There's something wrong with this. I just created another job for myself. So
Yeah.
I went all in. I'm all about efficiency. I went all in finding the best way to make money without really burning myself down. The answer is just having a productized approach to your delivery. As consulting is the answer. So there's two VAs. One is more on the admin side. The other one is more back office, invoices, stuff like that. And then the other one is more on the marketing side.
Okay.
So she helps me with LinkedIn. She helps me with some of the outreach that's just, I don't do any automations. So we do
Mm.
everything manually. And people listening to this, they're like, you're stupid. You should do an automation. We're not using automations.
Yeah.
My favorite model of delivery is group consulting. You productize through group consulting. So I switched completely from doing one-on-ones because
Mm.
one-on-one is not customization doesn't scale. I moved completely from one-on-one to building a system. When I say a system, it's not a tool. It's not like an IT system to build a an approach, a container of what I know and what I think should be implemented for clients who come to me with a specific problem, and I deliver that system to them in a group setting.
Mm.
So it's a group consulting. So you come to me, it's a cohort. I talk to, I have a few groups I talk with. There's 40, 50 people at any given time, and we just help their businesses grow.
Interesting. So how does that work out? So is it like a weekly thing where you have a set time and then all your members or all your clients jump on and
Yeah.
then they can
Yeah.
ask you questions beforehand? How does that actually work out?
This specific result is an annual, so 12 months program where it's a rolling cohort. So people can join the program at any point. We do have 5 calls, two on Monday and three on Tuesday, 50 people in total in those 5 calls. We have 1 call per week for that group. So it's 2 days in total of calls. So I basically work 2 days. In between the calls, there's asynchronous help on Slack. We just get on a call, we talk. There's Q&A session, there's pre-recorded stuff as well. So they have access to my VIP portal. They ask questions on the call. Sometimes I do a workshop. So sometimes it's more proactive, sometimes it's more reactive.
Mm.
Usually it's a mix. So I start a call, it's a 90-minute call. I start a call with like, this is what's happening. This is what we're building. This is new in the market. This is what you guys should be doing. And then there's time for Q&A. And there's pre-recorded stuff as well, right? So there's a program on the back end of it, a course, if you will. I
Mm.
don't recommend courses, but there's a pre-recorded content, and we have weekly calls for those groups, right? So I have 5 groups, and I combine people in those groups based on where they are in their journey, based on the revenue level, based on the industry as well, so that we can have the questions come from the same kind of perspective. Someone who's making $100,000 will have a different question versus someone who's just making 10K. Someone who's a marketing agency will have a different question than someone who's a healing coach. So I kind of put them in cohorts. That's why I have 5 different ones. And I don't want to have big, massive calls. I used to coach in another program where we had 100 people on the call, and
Mm.
it's absolutely impossible to talk to them. When you do that, when you break it down this way, you can still deliver amazing results for the people on the call. Because even if it's like a group is designed to be up to 10 people, there's always people who will not show up. So it's like 5 people on the call, whatever, right? And then you can really be very specific in helping their specific case.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a call, then Slack, and then VIP portal, and the system in the backend. A system as in like my model, my frameworks, stuff that I
Mhm.
know works.
Got it. And you mentioned there's a 12-month program, so that means they have to sign up for like a 12-month subscription or membership. Is that how it works?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
it's a 12-month program. I do have other programs. So I said, well, this what brings results is this program specifically. I do have other programs that I call sprints. So they're between 8 to 12 weeks as well. So my big program is the 100K consultant program. It consists of three kind of legs. It's a triangle, three elements. And so when you sign for this big program, you go through the whole thing, for a whole shebang. We go through positioning, offer, messaging, lead generation, delivery, scaling, everything that you need. But what I have realized as well is that a lot of people don't either are not a good fit for that or don't have the money or runway to work with me on the long commitment. So I took away pieces of those legs as well as separate sprints. So for example, if you need help with productizing, I have a sprint, 12-week sprint that goes into productizing itself. The model is exactly the same. It's just the container is a little bit smaller. It's a little bit cheaper because of that. But what happens actually, I don't have actual statistics. I'm going to say majority, like 90% of people who go through that sprint will see
Hmm.
results and they will end up doing the big program anyway. So they finish the 12 weeks, let's say, and then they'll graduate into the big program anyway. So I end up having most of my students in that big program anyway. But
Got
they
it.
start the starting point. The starting point is the smaller container.
Okay, so it's starting with the smaller one, and then they like it, then they go to the bigger one, which is the yearly plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Yes.
Got it. So I want to talk more about your business and your approach, but I want to expand it a little bit because obviously that's one model you mentioned, which is the group
Hmm.
consulting, as you would call it, the short term versus long term. But I know you work with other folks who are making 100K as well per month. Well, what are some of their business models that are working, just so can spark some curiosity amongst the folks?
Sure. Group consulting is a way to productize yourself, right? And so that works for me. And to be honest, it's a model that works for most. There is always a question or always a objection, if you will, when someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to productize my stuff." And when we look at group approach, there is a objection of, "Hey, that's not going to work for me. My clients want just me. They want one-on-one. My product is custom. Da 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 da." You can switch most of services and consulting approaches to group, and so that's the majority of my clients. Now, this is one of the ways, right? So you can productize in different ways. You can productize by, in general, it's a big topic, by standardizing your approach.
Hmm.
So instead of doing one-on-one and custom done for you, you have to go as close to done with you as possible. It doesn't have to be in a group setting, but it has to be still based on that idea of I'm not implementing my hours and my work and I'm not clicking the buttons. I have a system that I will install in your business for you. What is
Yeah.
the system? When you are a service provider, and we're looking at consultants, you are a genius at what you do. You can deliver results. So when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, can you do this for me?" You go, "Sure. I know which button to click. I know how to do this. I know how to drop this. I'm a copywriter," whatever you do, right? So that requires your time, that requires your genius to be applied at that very moment to this very specific situation. This results in the fact that you have to be there. You have to do those things. You have to charge for your time. When we go into the system approach, you dump everything that you know, your ideas, your thoughts into a system, a container, a model, a framework. And then instead of you delivering the work on an hourly basis, you install the system instead. So instead of saying, "I'm going to write this copy for you and it will be ready tomorrow," we say, "I'm going to increase the conversion rates of your website." So you move from doing the service on an hourly basis to delivering a result in a specific container. And so you also can teach your clients on how to do certain things versus actually doing this for them. So you want to move away from done for you
Mm.
to done with you as much as possible. The custom work is on the bottom level of it. Another level is done for you in a more productized, standardized way. So let's say I have a script, I have a way to deliver my service in a certain way every single time. And another level is the productized group consulting. Another level will be licensing and having other coaches do things for me. So there's different levels of it. But staying away from one-on-ones is by far the number one focus for everyone who wants to go towards scaling.
I'm curious because, you know, my company, for example, it's focusing on B2B. So we mostly work with enterprise. I'm just
Hmm.
thinking out loud, how might I do that when we work for, I think it's one of the things, principles you talked about is less clients, more profitable, which is definitely our approach. We're very selective in who we work with, but then we do
Yeah.
larger projects over multiple years. So I'm not sure if that model applies or more it's for a B2C, like smaller type of SME consulting.
Well, again, this model will apply. We can break down your situation. If you tell me like what exactly is the service, we can look at it. Well, what would be an initial idea of how we could move you from the custom to more productized approach if you wanted to. But the model works. It's just a matter of for the model to work, you need to change two things. One is your delivery model. So you're not delivering one-on-one. You have to change that, obviously. And number two, the client that you work with, you are selling a completely different service, a completely different offer. So not every client will be a good fit. And that is okay. That's completely fine because the clients that come to you want the custom stuff every single time. They want your service. They want you being boots on the ground and stuff like that. Great. But that's not a fit for this model,
Mm,
right?
okay.
So instead of saying, "Oh, I can't do this because clients come to me for this," that's a wrong answer to the wrong question. Because the answer to that need from the client is yes, that's a one-on-one, but there's going to be another different client to whom you can deliver this in a different delivery model. So it's just a matter of switching from, okay, we're no longer working with these clients and
Mm,
we're completely comfortable saying no to them because we can now switch to these clients. And so instead of making 20K in 3 months on this project, I'm moving into talking to group, maybe a different type of a client and making 100K myself. You know what I mean? So yes, it
yeah.
requires you're changing your mindset and your philosophy around what you do and how you do, but the result is this, right? So it's up to you. I'm not gonna force anyone to go my route, but as I said in the beginning, I'm really, really surprised a lot of people are just like keep kind of pushing the rock up the hill. And sure, if that fuels your soul, if that's what you want, if that's how you stay happy, and that fulfills your life of like, I really want to install those or do those things one on one, and really want to work with people, that's completely fine. It's just for me, it was freedom first business. I was like, what is the way for me to have the freedom first business that gives me the freedom to do whatever I want? I work 2 days a week and to give me the money that I want so that I can actually enjoy my life. That was the idea behind it. So I needed to say goodbye to my one-on-one consulting and I needed to say hello to my group consulting. And that meant different clients, different model, different delivery. Yeah.
That makes sense. Now, for a specific client, obviously without naming them, I'm just anonymizing it. What is another client that you work with that is currently hitting that 100K revenue per month? What is their business model like? Is it the same as yours, like in terms of group coaching, or is it a different model?
Yeah, so there's a marketing agency, for example, they moved away from building specific funnels for their clients.
Hmm.
They move into selling that container. So they have an approach of how the funnel should look like. They have templatized everything. They have templates, SOPs, da da da, and they just go into a client and they teach their team and they help their client implement everything in that sense. So the client is implementing based on the templates, based on the SOPs, based on whatever my client is giving them, but my client is not clicking the button. And so what it
Mm.
does is that they have a 10 weeks implementation, 2 weeks onboarding, and then 8 weeks of actual implementation together with the client. The way I want everyone to think about productization is that you are putting things in a container and that container protects you from scope creep. That container builds very specific expectation of like what you get. That containers is all about, it's not about time, it's about the value to get on the other side. So
Mhm.
we're no longer saying, as in this case, we're no longer saying, oh, this marketing agency will, we do these things in 3 weeks. We say we'll help you build a funnel in 12 weeks that drives these results. That is the value that you bring. And so that container again protects you and gives you also a space for do the same things every single time. We know how to do this. You have to follow this SOP. You have to do this, that. So this agency moved away from doing everything custom, like, oh, we need to figure out how to do, template for this client, template for that client, into more so, hey, dear client, you need to go through these steps. This is the template. You have to install this, da, da, da. Right. So it's the same thing as just put in a container. But
Mm.
what that does, it's like a like a assembly line, if you will.
Hmm.
You have the same container, you just plug that into a different business that comes your way. So my client now has a team that can implement like a SWAT team that just goes into a client, another client, another client. Same stuff, different day. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so you don't have to typically when you do onboard a client, onboarding phase is the most expensive time. And most companies, when they onboard, especially marketing agencies, when they are onboarding a client, if you calculate how much time it takes and you multiply that time at times your internal hourly rate, you will realize you probably are losing money in the onboarding phase because it's so
Mm.
labor intensive. Now, if you have the container, there you completely remove that because you don't have to figure stuff out. You don't have to have all these kickoff calls and whatever. Like you completely remove all the variables, if you will, the customization piece, right? Because it's all on the client side of
Mm.
things. So highly effective. Your team knows what to do when. There's no scope creep. There's no confusion. Everyone understands. There's an expectation. There's very clear expectation. I'm sure you've seen this where you thought you delivering this for the client and the client thought you delivering that. And then 2 weeks in, you're like, nah, that's not what we're doing. The client goes, oh, that's what we thought you guys doing that. Right. And then this is where the scope creep comes and they call you like, hey, Joe, can you also add this? And I'm like, okay, sure. It's a big client. I'm going to do that. So scope creep happens. And if you multiply scope creep by 10 clients that you have, all of a sudden you end up working 60, 80 hours because you want to over deliver for the client. Now,
Mm.
when you have the container, the productized approach, that doesn't happen because everyone knows exactly what's going to happen when and what's included in the box. Right? It's like you buy a chair from IKEA. You're not expecting pieces of table in it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like we bought a chair. You're buying a chair. We tell you how to build the chair. You build the chair. You have a chair. Are you happy? And this is the price, right? You want a table? That's another container. You want a table? Sure. We also have a table container. That's a different story. Finish the chair first, right? It's an assembly line, if you will.
Yeah.
So the difference between what I do and what they do in terms of a model is that I do that in a group consulting. So it's like at the same time I work with multiple clients in the group. They can work with multiple clients at the same time because they just have an assembly line and they'll have a different team work with a different client, but it's not a group setting. It's not together. They will have two people, install this for this client, two people install this for this client, two people install this for this client. So we remove customization. It's container, it's assembly line, and it's highly scalable. Make sense?
Yeah, crystal clear now. I have a much better idea. The other thing I wanted to ask you about was around offer and positioning. And you kind of talked
Mm,
about it just now in terms of time frame and the specific results. My question is, for example, you're offering something and say it's going to increase your website conversions by, I don't know, 10%. It's going to help you generate $10,000 in revenue in the next 3 months. That's a pretty clear offer from what I understand. The
hmm
challenge that I anticipate for some of this is because you're not doing it for them. So let's say you're taking the marketing agency approach where you're building it with them together, but let's say the client for some reason is slacking or maybe they're a little bit behind and they haven't actually implemented what you told them to. Wherein, so once again, let's say in this case you promised them, I don't know, a 10% increase in their website traffic, just as an example, but they haven't been filling their side of the table. Like, how do you guarantee something when you're not fully responsible for that, if that makes sense?
Perfect. Very good question. You don't. You just don't. You just don't guarantee. I don't guarantee anyone to be making $100,000 per month. My system it is designed to help you get there, but it's
Okay.
on you. It's on you. I am so I am not the thing is so it's a mindset change as well. And it's liberating because back when you are clicking the buttons, you feel like you're responsible for the results for the client, but it's the client is running the business, not you. And it's very common with consultants and marketing agencies to feel responsible for the result. Oh, we didn't get your results on Facebook with media buying. That's not that you didn't get them results. The results didn't happen, but it's not your fault. If you did
Mhm.
if you did everything right, you don't own Facebook. You're not Mark Zuckerberg. You don't own the algorithm. You don't own the offer. You don't own the product. You're not in charge of everything that is happening. You
Yeah.
cannot take responsibility for lack of results unless you did a bad job and you boosted a post where you were supposed to do a conversion campaign, whatever. Obviously, there's responsibility in good quality work. But you have to switch your mindset from this is my responsibility. Clients come to me. I'm not telling them what the offer should be for their business. I'm giving them a tool to figure it out themselves. and I
Mm,
can guide them through it. On the call, they can ask me questions. We're going to challenge them on it. But the tool, they have all the systems and all the, I'm giving them the tools to build the chair. Again, using that IKEA
yeah.
example, right? So I'm not guarantee them. I'm like, hey, here's the chair. I cannot guarantee they're going to build the chair the right way or they're not making a mistake. This is the tool that you have. The tool is designed for you to sit on it. You have
Mm,
to build it. This is how you build it. This is the instruction. When I look at it, I'm like, well, I think it's flipped, but you got to go and work and make it work the other way around. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So you never guarantee. I don't guarantee because I'm not in control. If you want me to guarantee, then you make me a partner in your business and I take the rev share
Mm,
because then I'm doing the work for you. It's your
yeah.
business. It's ours now. So if it's your business, it's your responsibility to do everything it takes to make it happen. Is that making
Yeah.
sense?
I'm just wondering how you get that number. So for you, obviously, you've hit those revenue numbers for yourself, for your own company,
Mm.
because there has
Yeah.
to be a basis to the number. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to increase, I'm going to help you generate, 100K revenue
Mhm.
next quarter without any." So is that how you pull out these numbers? So for example, the 100K or whatever it is, it based on something you've achieved before, you've done for yourself, and saying, "Hey, it like you explained, it's designed to help you achieve this, rather than it will
Yeah.
guarantee to achieve this."
Yeah. So obviously we're not faking it until we make it. We're not scamming people. There has to be a substance to what we do, and there has to be the offer has to be based on something, right?
Mm,
So if you're good at what you do and you have delivered in the past 10% increase in conversion rates, then that is your offer. You cannot just take it from thin air. So like, well, we are going to improve your conversion rates by 300%, and this is the offer. Like, okay, but there has to be a basis for that claim, right?
yeah.
Back in the day, I wouldn't have that claim because I wouldn't hit, 100K, but like it would be add $10,000 to your revenue per month, or it would be get five leads per week. That would be my offer because that's what I was able to deliver consistently for my own business. Right. So
Mm,
whatever you offer, if you're a marketing agency, you deliver results, and on average, maybe you increase the ROAS by 3% or 3x. If that is what you do, then you know how to deliver that consistently, and then you build a container around it, and then you create an offer around that specific promise. So if I
mhm.
know how to build chairs, because I built three of them, custom for every person, and I build a system on how to actually build those chairs because I've done this before. Now I can say, I will tell you how to build a chair in less than 15 minutes with a very confusing IKEA manual. Right.
You can't just pull these numbers out of thin air. We have
Mm,
some questions from the audience as well too, and want to get your thoughts on is they're keen to hear about your marketing and acquisition system. So that's
mm.
part one. And then how has AI impacted that? I'm going to throw a third one
Okay.
in there, which is how do you leverage your VAs? Because we talked about outreach. So let's start with your marketing and acquisition system in general. How does it work? We'll talk about what you do, your role, AI's roles, and then the VA role.
Sure. 100% LinkedIn,
Okay.
100%. I mean, there's gonna be some sort of inbound, I guess, but I don't even calculate that. I don't even it's 100% LinkedIn.
Hmm.
I went full on LinkedIn 2 years ago. I doubled with it. I was posting every day, commenting every day, blah blah blah. That didn't work, but cracked the code a year later. And the code is kind of the code is kind of like three elements to it. Number one, and that's probably won't be anything new for people who are accustomed with the platform, but you guys are overcomplicating stuff. So please go back to basics. And the three basics are get your profile ready for the traffic. So your
Mm,
profile has to be very specific about what you do and for whom. Like what is your niche and what do you do for them? What kind of problem you're fixing, right? Go Going back to the basics of business. Every business exists to solve a problem. Your profile has to explain what kind of problem you're solving and for who. It's no longer LinkedIn is no longer a resume. Nobody cares that I worked in Ernst and Young, 15 years ago. Who cares? Like, why would I tell you where I was born and what I'm passionate about? You have to make it about your prospect. You have to make it about a problem that you solve, about
mhm.
the solution, right? So your profile has to be ready for the traffic. Your profile has to be you treat your profile as if it was your landing page, right? Your website. So you tell them what you do, for whom, how to get in touch with you, what is your offer. It has to build authority and trust. That's number one. Number two, Because people buy, again, a little bit of a concept backtrack, know, like, and trust factor. People
Mhm.
buy from people they like, they know, like, and trust. So they will trust you based on your profile. They will trust you based on your thought leadership content. So you have to build content for on LinkedIn as well. It doesn't have to be every day. I post every day, but it doesn't have to be every day. A couple days a week is enough. 2 or 3 days a week is enough. People will read, so they will end up on your profile. They will go through it. They're like, okay, I understand what this person is doing.
Mhm.
Then I'm gonna read their post. The post will tell me what is their thinking process. Do I agree with their philosophy? Do I like it or not? Right. So that's the thought leadership element. They also, based on the post, they'll see whether they like you or not. They'll see your face. They'll see whether you joke or not. You're maybe more, professional, more casual. They'll get that as well, right?
Mhm.
So that's the like and trust factor. So you have the profile and the content. The third piece is like, well, they need to know you. They need to understand. You need to build awareness of the fact that you exist. Well, how do you do that? Content will help you a little bit, but it's mostly the DMs that will help you say, that will tell the world, hey, I exist. This is what I do. Right. So I would say if you were to choose what to focus on, whether it should be content or the DMs, I would say DMs 100%. Get your profile ready and then get on DMs and talk to people. Content will support, so you can create, 10, 15 pieces and put them on your profile. Then you don't have to post. If you're not a writer, you don't want to do that, go all in on DMs. You send connection requests to your ICP every single week. I send 200 connection requests. Probably around, I think it's 57% that accept that connection request. So we're looking at 100 new connections every week.
Mhm.
And I just talk to people. Like, hi, my name is Mike. This is what I do. How are you? That's it. No, there's no pitch. So to go quickly into the question about the VA, my VA sends that first message. That is the same message every single time. Hey, my name is Mike. I hate just collecting connections on LinkedIn. Just wanted to introduce myself. I do this. Would love to learn more about you.
Mhm.
And some people will say, well, where's this going? What's your pitch? So you give them a pitch because they asked. Some of them will show you a middle finger, like they're like, no, I'm like, I haven't even talked to you, but sure, okay, goodbye. And you just disconnect. Some people will just be open and you talk to them. You talk to people. You don't pitch them at all. The approach you have on DMs is you turn on curiosity. Let's the example I like to use, and that's what I do when I'm traveling. You're at the airport, you're waiting for your plane, layover, whatever, and there's a person sitting next to you. You're having a wine or soda, whatever, and like, hey, I'm Mike. I'm flying to LA. Like, well, how are you? And then they say, well, oh, I'm this and that, and what do you do? Oh, I do this and that. Okay, well, how's that going? Oh, it's going pretty well, but I'm struggling with this. Okay, what's the challenge? You just have a conversation like a human being. The point of that conversation is not to sell. The point of that conversation is to understand whether there is a problem that they have, if you have a solution for that problem, and if they're willing to pay for that solution. If you have all these three things, then you can say, well, actually, funny you mentioned this. I actually do this and I can help you with that. If you if your approach to DMs is pitch, so you same situation, you have someone in the at the airport lobby and you go like, hey, my name is Mike, buy my shit. They're like, go to hell, and they're gonna eat peanuts with someone else,
Yeah.
right? So so you have to turn on curiosity. It's as if you were sitting at a bar and just curious about the other person. That takes time. I completely agree. But you have to think about this as something that I call a conveyor belt approach. You have a conveyor belt that goes from one side to the other, and it's an assembly line again. So you put people on the conveyor belt being the relationship building conversation,
Mhm.
right? And you push them through that conveyor belt, through the conversation. At the end of the conveyor belt is they become a client.
Mhm.
So your job is to put as many people on the conveyor belt as possible, as densely as possible, because some of them will say no, some of them
Yeah.
won't be interested, some of them won't be a good fit, right? So you have to put them as densely as possible. And then in the end, at the end of the conveyor belt, you will see, because it's so dense and you keep pushing everyone slowly, slowly, it feels slow, but at some point you will reach a point where every single day or every single week you'll have someone just dropping into the bucket of deal, 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 deal. You talk to them for 3 months, but it's 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, 2.5.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
every
yeah.
single week, all of a sudden, as you put them more densely and consistently, you will get deals consistently as well. The biggest mistake people make is they will have a burst of like outreach and then they'll talk to 10 people and they will have one deal and they'll stop feast and
Yeah.
famine situation, they will
Yes. Yeah.
stop because now they have to go into delivery because they don't have a good delivery system. They are not productized. So they have to go like all in on delivery because we got a client for 10 grand. Now everyone all hands on deck, you know? So you got a 10K, you finish the project and you're like, uh-oh, we don't have clients. So you go back to LinkedIn,
Yeah.
that one client, and that happens again. So obviously that approach works only if your delivery is fixed, right? So there's
Yeah.
three elements to scaling. Number one is lead generation. Number two is delivery. And number three is actual scale. So like having a scale system. So that is the approach on LinkedIn. Like that is how we're getting leads and that's how we're getting clients. To answer your question on the VA is sending that initial request. She's also monitoring the inbox for any stuff I should be paying attention to because I talk to a lot of people,
Mm.
but I might miss something. Is going to invite people to the event as well. Right now, we have the report that just blew up. There's like 1,700 comments. And so she's helping with managing those comments. People who are not connected with me, she's going to message them. It's like the admin stuff of things.
Yeah.
But I take over and in the past 2 weeks, because of that one post that went viral, I talked to 400 people in the past 10 days.
Wow.
So I'm putting a lot of people on that conveyor belt.
Mike, so we're definitely going to have to do part two of this. I want to find out more about your DMs, but time is about up for this time. So I just want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your insights. I've learned a lot as well. So we're definitely going to have you on for part two.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, for everyone watching, listening, feel free to share this episode. So many good tips to avoid scope creep and generate more revenue for your business. Feel free to share it, and we'll see you on the next episode.